Barbara Butch wasn't just doing a rendition to honor the Greek god of Dionysus. This was a mockery of the Last Supper, and we're going to show you why. So as the painter of the Last Supper, Leonardo da Vinci himself was not a Christian. And you can see here, as he created the Mona Lisa, he may have created that using masculine features of his own self, but we'll get to that in another video. The significance of the Last Supper was that moments after Jesus revealed that one of the apostles was going to betray him, and that was Judas Iscariot. Look where he's sitting. It's 3 people to the left of Jesus, or I guess it would be his right. Now let's cut to the Olympic ceremony, and you've got 1, 2, 3. It's the little girl, and who's sitting by the little girl? It's that drag queen with his junk showing. It's disgusting. That's an outrage. Why was this allowed to happen? Well, I'm going to get to that. But first, I decided to go to Barbara Butch's Instagram, and you can see it right here. She's using that as her profile picture. This is just such a defining moment of her life, and she's so proud about it. But right here, I want to show you something very important. So the halo that was created, it really was termed that from Blanca Flavin, Olympian music goddess halo. It says it's made of natural silver, Swarovski crystals for her performance during the opening ceremony of the 24 Olympic Games. Under the direction of Daphne Burke and the artistic direction of Thomas Jolly during the choreographed tableau to celebrate love, inclusivity, and diversity through music and dance to unite all of us, except for it didn't unite anybody at all. It had the complete opposite effect. Now this is where it gets really good depending on how you look at it. Now Leslie Barbara Butch is her real name. And I think this was started from the very beginning of her birth. Look at her name. It's Leslie Butch. That's not French, folks. I think she was groomed to be a lesbian from birth. She was given that name for a reason. But even if you don't hold to that belief, and it's fine if you don't, let's look at her mother and her father. Her mother's a secretary of Ashkenazi Jewish descent. The Ashkenazi Jews have come right out and said, and I've said this on a previous video, that they have put human remains in McDonald's meat products. The Ashkenazi Jews are not good people at all, and her father is a house painter of Sephardic Jewish descent as well. So at some point, Leslie started going by her middle name of Barbara, and at 18 years old, she came out as lesbian to her parents and started going to lesbian bars playing music, learning to be a DJ. On February 5th of 2020, she made the cover of the Télérama magazine in France with the quote, "But why do we reject fat people?" Now I'm going to interject that as a health teacher, I went to school to be a health teacher. We shouldn't be worrying about fat shaming or fat acceptance, and we should be worried about exercise because that is going to increase your longevity, help you live a longer life. This woman has it all wrong. So that naked appearance on the cover of Télérama got her an appearance to sell as a spokeswoman for Jean-Paul Gaultier's La Bella Intense perfume, and brings the question, why would we put a naked fat woman to sell perfume? Because that's probably the best thing we can do, right? To sell our products. You don't need a Swarovski crystal to see this stuff with crystal clarity, folks. Come on. So as a result of this outrage, the far-right Republican candidate Marion Maréchal of France says to all the Christians of the world who are watching the Paris 24 ceremony and felt insulted by this drag queen parody of the Last Supper, know that it is not France that is speaking, but a left-wing minority ready for any provocation. Well, it's a little bit more than that, and we're going to investigate that. Now, this is where the connections of the Olympic ceremony come in. I want to show you something called the EPIC Foundation. It says since its creation in 2014, EPIC has backed 54 nonprofits and social enterprises around the world. If you click that link, it doesn't work. They don't show you all of them. But here it says they commit to raising a minimum of $100,000 each year for 3 years to any of those grantee organizations. It's usually exceeded. It's a way of them to oversee you, basically. So in North America, you've got Common Justice, Common Lit, and the JED Foundation. I need you armchair detectives to look into these organizations and see what they stand for. See what it is, because these are Rothschilds running this EPIC Foundation. I'm going to show you that. In Europe, you've got Duo for a Job, Nightline, Safe Lives, Street League, Telemac, and Think Forward. Africa and Asia, you've got a couple more there in Kenya and stuff like that, but I'm not going to get into it too much because it doesn't apply to us so much because we just don't live there. Here the EPIC Foundation talks about how it's a 501c charity foundation in about 5 different countries. It's basically just a way for this overarching group to have control of other charities. We're giving you money, $100,000 plus every year for 3 years on minimum. We're going to have our influence on what you're doing. So on their board in New York, you've got Lynn Forrester de Rothschild. She married into the Rothschild family. And then in Paris, you've got Alexander de Rothschild. So by now, you probably guessed it. She's another Ashkenazi Jew. And at 70 years old, she was married to Evelyn de Rothschild, who died at the age of 91, a big age difference. And here you see her hanging out with Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, and you can kind of see where this is going. It was Henry Kissinger who introduced her to her husband at the 1998 Bilderberg meetings in Scotland. And here you can see the discussion points of what they talked about during this Bilderberg meeting in 1998. And you can see Henry Kissinger, Evelyn de Rothschild, Lynn Forrester, and David Rockefeller. That's how the Rockefellers keep getting tied in with the Rothschilds. So again, I want to iterate, Lynn Forrester de Rothschild and Alexander Rothschild were both on the committee of the Olympic Games ceremony. So you can kind of see why they chose this person. So let's see exactly more about Barbara Bush's life so you can get more of an idea. Muy bien. Muy bien. So that's really the best we could do, huh? Was a couple Ashkenazi Jews picking another Ashkenazi Jew who just happened to be a lesbian, huh? And let's not forget the drag queen with his testicles showing by the little girl. Now, monuments are important in satanic rituals. Here we've got the Statue of Liberty. There they've got the Eiffel Tower. I'm going to talk to you about the Statue of Liberty on another show, but right now we're going to focus on this one. Now, it's often said Lucifer is the angel of music, the fallen angel. Now, check out the Eiffel Tower. You see the wings at the very bottom. Look at that, because he fell. That was the whole implication of what they were doing here. The white horse, that's in the book of Revelation. I'm going to show you some verses real quick. Now, check out what I found in my research. This is the King James version of the Bible. This is the one we should be going by. It says, "Thou hast been in Eden, in the garden of God. Every precious stone was thy covering. The sardius, topaz, and the diamond, the beryl, the onyx, and the jasper, the sapphire, the emerald, and the carbuncle, and gold. The workmanship of thy tabrets and of thy pipes was prepared in thee in the day that thou wast created." He's talking about the devil, basically. That's who it was, Lucifer. Or rather, the archangel Samael before he fell and changed his name to Lucifer. Now check this out in the New International Version. "You were in Eden, the garden of God. Every precious stone adorned you, carnelian, chrysolite, and emerald, topaz, onyx, and jasper, lapis lazuli, turquoise, and beryl. Your settings and mountings were made of gold. On the day you were created, they were prepared." There's no mention of the pipes at all and the musical instruments at all. They removed that completely from the New International Version. They don't want you to know that Lucifer was the god of music, or the angel of music. Now let's read some scripture on the white horse. Revelation 6, "And I saw when the Lamb opened one of the seals, and I heard, as it were the noise of thunder, one of the four beasts saying, Come and see. And I saw, and behold, a white horse, and he that sat on him had a bow, and a crown was given unto him, and he went forth conquering and to conquer. And when he had opened the second seal, I heard the second beast say, Come and see. And there went out another horse that was red, and power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth, and that they should kill one another. And there was given unto him a great sword. And when he had opened the third seal, I heard the third beast say, Come and see. And I beheld, and lo, a black horse. And he that sat on him had a pair of balances in his hand. And I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts say, A measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny. And see thou hurt not the oil and the wine. And when he had opened the fourth seal, I heard the voice of the fourth beast say, Come and see. And I looked, and behold a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed with him. And power was given unto them over the fourth part of the earth, to kill with sword, and with hunger, and with death, and with the beasts of the earth. And when he had opened the fifth seal, I saw under the altar the souls of them that were slain for the word of God, and for the testimony which they held. And they cried with a loud voice, saying, How long, O Lord, holy and true, Dost thou not judge and avenge our blood on them that dwell on the earth? And white robes were given unto every one of them. And it was said unto them that they should rest yet for a little season, until their fellow servants also and their brethren, that should be killed as they were, should be fulfilled. And I beheld when he had opened the sixth seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood. And the stars of heaven fell unto the earth, even as a fig tree casteth her untimely figs, when she is shaken of a mighty wind. And the heaven departed as a scroll when it is rolled together, and every mountain and island were moved out of their places. And the kings of the earth, and the great men, and the rich men, and the chief captains, and the mighty men, and every bondman, and every free man hid themselves in the dens and in the rocks of the mountains, and said to the mountains and rocks, Fall on us, and hide us from the face of him that sitteth on the throne, and from the wrath of the Lamb. For the great day of his wrath is come, and who shall be able to stand? So you're seeing a lot of parallels to what's been going on in this year with the eclipse on April 8th. The sun became dark, the moon became red. We had the lunar eclipse 2 weeks before that, where the moon became red. It says people will be hiding in the rocks of the mountains. Well, the elites, like Bill Gates, are building bunkers underground. We're seeing a lot of these things happen. Now look up to the skies, because we've got 3 active meteor showers right now, so you never know what you might find. Here's another look at that sad horse with a sad look on its face, as well as the mechanical one that's right in here. And with all this satanic occult ritual, I figured their inclusive message was to have transgenders in sports. Check out our next 1-minute short on my solution for how we can have women in men's professional sports the right way. If you agree with his content, it took me over 9 hours to make this video, so if you could please like, share, or subscribe, it would mean a lot to me, as I don't make any commission off of YouTube for the time I spend making these videos. But it's very important for me to get this message out to you. Now this one's a bit of a stretch, but this is Catherine Breillat, and she's a famous French filmmaker of taboo subjects involving women. And basically, her movie, even though it was released last year in France, hit theaters in the United States 1 month exactly before the Olympic ceremony. So I wanted to see if the name The Last Summer is a reference to maybe it being our last summer, based off my last video talking about how there's supposed to be a big event come around the presidential election that's going to have massive population reductions. So I want to see if there's any correlation to this at all. Again, it's probably going too deep down the rabbit hole, but I thought it was worth looking into because the movie is French. This woman's from Paris, and the movie The Last Summer rhymes with The Last Supper, and it was released a month before the Olympic ceremony. So let's check out her movies. Catherine and Company, incidentally, is the same name as her, even though it's off another novel. It's about this British prostitute that moves to Paris and decides to open up an escort business. This is where you really see the perverted mind of this Catherine woman. This is called A Very Young Girl, and the girl is 14 years old, and she basically is bored, so she starts doing sexual things, and there's an older man that comes into the picture. Of course, that would be illegal, and basically they have sex, and long story short, the dad ends up killing the older guy that's with her. It's very deranged. It was made in 1976, wasn't allowed to hit theaters until 2000, and it just kind of plays the scene of what this woman does, and it starts to make me wonder, is there really some kind of a connection here? I mean, you got to remember, there's nudity in this movie of women and men, including a girl who's 14 years old, just like you saw in the Olympic ceremony with the man showing himself. 36 Follette is more of the same. You guessed it, another underage girl at the age of 14 by the name of Lily, who finds this aging playboy. They basically get it on because she's determined to lose her virginity at 14. And then he gets depressed over it, leaves her. She ends up finding a teenager her own age at the fair, and that's about the whole movie. Again, with this Catherine woman, there seems to be a theme of very young girls with older men, just like you saw at the Olympic ceremony. This is another extremely disturbing movie, and it's going to show the dark personality of this Catherine filmmaker. But basically, Marie, a school teacher, is with this Paul guy and cheats on him with multiple men and doesn't like him anymore because he doesn't want sex, so she kills him by turning the gas and the stove on. He dies, there's an explosion, and they lower his casket down, and she's holding his baby as she went into labor. This movie might be the worst of them all. It's a 15 and a 12-year-old girl. The 12-year-old's a fat girl. That's the name of the movie, is a fat girl. And they're talking about their virginities. Well, this guy comes into the 15-year-old's life. The 12-year-old says she doesn't think he's genuine. He basically gives her the ring of their mother. They don't know it. And they end up having sex. The 15-year-old does. And the mom gets pissed because she finds out it's her ring. And she drives back to Paris. Well, some guy comes and smashes through the windshield, kills the 15-year-old, strangles the mother, takes the 12-year-old away into the woods and rapes her. And the police bring the 12-year-old out, and she says that she wasn't raped. Very disturbing movie, very dark personality. I'm only going to cover this last movie. There are other ones. I'm kind of tired of talking about how dark these movies are. There was another one called Anatomy of Hell. I'm not going to describe that one. But this one is last summer, and basically it's a 17-year-old boy who's troubled, and the dad says that he's moving in with his wife. It's not his mother. It was from a previous marriage. Well, basically they strike up a love affair, and she's like 50-some years old, and he's 17. So you're seeing this theme with mismatched ages. And again, you saw that in that Olympic ceremony. So I think there is a connection here, but I'm going to show you guys the theatrical trailer here.
Théo va venir vivre chez nous. Ça fait un bout de temps que Pierre rêve de se rapprocher de son fils, c'est l'occasion. Bonjour Théo. Qu'est-ce que t'as grandi?
Je vais chercher des clopes, tu m'accompagnes?
Des fois, tu te dis pas que je suis un vieux con?
Jamais.
Théo, lui, me considère comme un vieux con. Hier, il m'a dit que j'avais adopté les filles uniquement pour me donner bonne conscience.
Tu veux une bière? Mais il va falloir d'abord passer par le magnétophone. Il va falloir me raconter ta première fois.
Assieds-toi, j'ai à te parler. J'ai eu des vrais échanges avec Théo. Il m'a dit que vous deux, que tu as eu une liaison avec mon fils.
Tu veux pas me dire que tu l'as cru une seconde?
Je sais plus qui croire.
Ne me touche pas. Ton fils est un monstre. Mets-toi bien ça dans la tête. Il veut que tu me rejettes pour t'avoir pour lui tout seul.
On est une famille. On doit pouvoir se faire confiance.
Just because The Last Supper rhymes with The Last Summer, it's probably going down the rabbit hole too much. And there's probably no real connection unless you guys can find some political ties with this woman. Then maybe there's something to it. But you can see the projections here on the Daigle report of the population reductions and growth in other countries.